Doctors of Reddit, what's the most embarrassing injury a patient has had? Story 1. I was doing an ER rotation during residency. I wasn't there when it happened, but the next morning, everyone was talking about this guy who came in with a soda can up his ass. The fact that someone showed up with something stuck in their ass wasn't particularly unusual, but do you guys remember those Mountain Dew cans with glow-in-the-dark lettering? We were all looking at the X-ray, and clear as day, in the patient's rectum, you could see the words, "Do the do." Story 2. Maybe something that doesn't involve genitals. I once treated a police officer who accidentally shot himself in the leg during their annual training. The bullet went clean through his leg without hitting anything major, so he was fine aside from being in pain. His supervisor accompanied him and spent the entire time roasting him. Story 3. During my internship, we had a case of a penis getting locked inside a vagina around 11 p.m. The embarrassing part? The man was her father-in-law, her husband's father. She had a copper T, an IUD for pregnancy prevention, which had dislodged and gotten stuck on the man's penis. They were brought in on an open rickshaw, wrapped in blankets. A quick 2-minute procedure, if you can even call it that, separated them, followed by dressing and basic care. Both refused to be admitted and went home immediately. Story 4. I have a few memorable patients. A construction worker removed the safety from his nail gun, set it down on a ladder, and leaned in just a little too close. Frank ended up nailed to the beams, which were nailed to his leg. EMS didn't help much. They cut off his jeans, but left a small patch of blue denim that looked like a fig leaf. He was okay, though, as it missed all the truly important parts. A guy got a vibrator stuck in his butt and, in a brilliant attempt to fix the situation, tried fishing it out with a second vibrator, which also got stuck. The worst part? I had to sedate him to remove them, and while he was Twilight on ketamine, he spoiled a movie I was really looking forward to. That was a bummer. A woman came in with a spray paint cap stuck in her vagina. She insisted her boyfriend had snuck a Sprite cap up there while she was asleep as a prank. That was, by far, the most adventurous foreign body retrieval I've been a part of. Big object, pliable, but with sharp and bendy edges pointing the wrong way, all surrounded by soft and sensitive tissue. She was also a woman of considerable volume, both physically and audibly. A guy came in with his penis stuck in a dish soap bottle, for obvious reasons. He had tried everything to get it off, including cutting the bottle widthwise, creating a sort of cone of shame, and soaking his penis in vinegar, because, apparently, that seemed like a good idea. I saw the same kid twice in one day, both times for a peanut stuck in his nostril. Different nostril the second time. His parents were mortified. Plenty of young guys have accidentally shot themselves in the ass or groin while trying to be badass thugs who keep their guns tucked in their waistbands. A couple of smokers on nasal oxygen decided to light up and ended up barbecuing their upper lips. That's a pretty stupid scar to earn. I love my job. Story 5. A woman was performing oral sex on her husband while they were driving to their vacation destination when their car was struck by a semi. The vehicle rolled, bounced, and cartwheeled multiple times. She was ejected through the open roof of their convertible. They found him DOA a few feet away, having bled out. She was found 45 feet to the side, also DOA. His penis was still in her mouth, as the initial impact forced her jaw shut. When her head hit the steering wheel, combined with the force of his body being launched, it created an extreme clamping force, like a nipper tool. Both were under the influence, with toxicology reports showing CDS levels well above impairment. Thankfully, I'm not a doctor, but I heard the story when my team took the incident report at the hospital morgue while working security there. It was their 10th anniversary. I quit a few days later. I was done with that job. Story 6. This isn't an injury, but rather a medical condition that can be both embarrassing and a serious emergency. I've told this story a few times, but one night, a guy walked into the ER with a priapism. For those who don't know, a priapism is an erection that won't subside on its own for several hours. It can be caused by spinal cord injuries, sickle cell anemia, cocaine use, Viagra, or other factors. If left untreated, it can become necrotic due to a lack of oxygen. This guy had no known risk factors, but for some reason, he had been experiencing recurrent priapisms. This was his third in the past 4 weeks. So when he came in, he already knew the drill. The ER doctor I was working with, I was a medical student at the time, had only drained one before, but he thought this would be a good learning opportunity for me, since priapism isn't something we see every day. I'll never forget the look in that guy's eyes as I held his erect penis in one hand and immediately stuck a needle into it with the other. Story 7. Not a doctor, but I work at a hospital. In the early hours of Christmas Day, a middle-aged woman who spoke little English came into the ER with her boyfriend. She was very shy, and her boyfriend did most of the translating. She claimed she had a cucumber stuck in her vagina and couldn't get it out. Before the doctors could examine her, she finally admitted the truth. It wasn't stuck in the front, but in the back. The doctor's notes were priceless, with the word vagina scratched out and replaced with back passage, underlined with multiple exclamation marks. She had to be transferred to another hospital for removal. To this day, I still wonder why they decided cucumbers were the go-to choice for intercourse on Christmas Day. Story 8. Nurse here. One of our hospital staff's sons got married. We had all watched this kid grow up, graduate college, meet Mary, and fall in love. Now it was time for the wedding and honeymoon. The couple stayed local, planning a proper honeymoon the following month. Well, a coworker calls me and one of our MD friends we usually hang out with. Meet me at the ER. Is 4 East still empty? We had just remodeled a wing. Yes. Okay. See you shortly. He broke his dick. Now, I had seen my fair share of sex-related injuries. Things stuck in butts. I don't judge, just get a base. Vaginal tears, bruised weenies, but damn. This dude's dick was broke. We meet Mary and the groom at the ER with Dr. Friend. Coworker comes in too. We call Dr. Ugg, the urologist, at home. He's on his way. In addition to his duck making the letter L, the glans was split. The bruising started below his belly button and ended at the top of his thighs. He was bleeding into his pelvis. He also had a testicular torsion. Straight to surgery. We took turns caring for him in 4 East. Turns out they were having newlywed sexy time. She was on top, bouncing and grinding. Landed wrong. His peen tried to visit Mrs. S. Brown Town by accident. She panicked, jumped, and landed. This was in 1999, and to this day, it's still the brokest dick I've ever seen. Good news, though, Dr. Ugg worked his magic. They ended up having 2 kids. Story 9. Years before medical school, I was a volunteer in an ER. One day, I walked into a patient's room where an ER tech was scrubbing road rash all over this guy. His arm, his hip, down his leg. It had to be scrubbed thoroughly to get all the debris out. His wife sat in the corner of the room, arms crossed, looking deeply unimpressed. I asked him how it happened. I was running from the cops on my Harley. Took a turn, hit some loose gravel, and slid. Wow, I said. That's rough. His wife remained completely unamused. Then he looked at me and asked, "Did you like that story?" "Yeah, that's a good one." "All right, here's what really happened. I was on my moped, going downhill. I lost control and fell off." I paused. "How's the moped?" His wife finally spoke up. "It fell on him." "It's fine." I looked at him and nodded. Stick to the first story. Story 10. A guy's wife went to the store, leaving him with the house to himself. He decided it was the perfect opportunity to shove a zucchini up his ass while masturbating. Unfortunately, it got sucked up inside, and he started to panic, terrified that his wife would find out. In the midst of his panic, he desperately tried to think of a way to get it out. That's when he landed on what he thought was a brilliant idea, a fork. His plan? Skewer the zucchini and pull it out. As I'm sure anyone who doesn't have a zucchini acutely stuck up their ass would immediately realize, a fork was a terrible idea. We saw him as a consult in the ER for emergency surgery because, surprise, surprise, he perforated his rectum with the fork and was showing early signs of an intra-abdominal infection. He ended up needing a partial colectomy and a temporary colostomy for a few months. He was still panicking about his wife finding out, so we reassured him that our discussions with her would strictly cover the medical facts. It would be his job to explain how those holes ended up in his colon. I advised him that honesty was probably his best bet, because when you're walking around with a colostomy bag for months, your wife is definitely going to be looking at you weird every single day. Story 11. I once had a guy come in at 2 a.m. with a ball bearing he had used as a cock ring the day before, meaning this thing had been stuck for over 24 hours. His penis was a deep shade of purple, severely swollen, and there was absolutely no amount of lube that was going to help get it out. The bigger issue? The material. Stainless steel. thick stainless steel. And, of course, we had nothing in the hospital capable of cutting through it. So, we had to call the fire department. The firefighters showed up with a disc cutter and freed this guy's willy from its self-imposed steel prison. I have no idea what happened to his penis afterward, but judging by how it looked when he arrived, I can't imagine it was anything good. Please, for the love of all that is holy, do not put any body parts into things where they can get stuck. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, activate the notification bell, and share a similar story or anything you'd like to say in the comments. See you next time.